Hello everyone, welcome to the 8th part of the video tutorial series Learning Pandas from Zero. My name is Xingqi Leung, and in this tutorial I will be your guide in Pandas. Today we will cover two important topics in Pandas. We will study how indexing works and how we can combine multiple data frames to form a composite data frame. This chapter will be the last chapter on the fundamental skills of Pandas. Starting from the next chapter, we will move on to the application parts. Let's recapitulate what we have learned in our last tutorial. We have covered how to make query about textual data and process them collectively. We have learned how to make query based on single or multiple conditions. We have covered how to use the native string function to change all data along a column collectively. We have also shown how to use self-defined function and masking function to apply changes to the existing data. Now we will do something more. In this chapter, we will introduce two concepts. First, we will re-examine the concept of index. We will see how we can also use index to group data together. Then we will talk about how to merge multiple data frames into one. If you have followed chapter 3, then we know that the index is an important way to call specific elements in a data frame. In fact, it has another use. Let's consider a data frame on the top right-hand corner. It is a small data frame containing a number of cities, and it contains information such as the country and the state of the city. In the left example, we recall that we can use the index name to extract the details about a row entry. Another use of the index is to classify entries. In the right example, if we set up the index name in the way that the country becomes the index, we can see that all cities in the United States share the same key or the index, and similarly for the cities in Canada. In this sense, the index has a similar function as the English dictionary, or dictionary of any languages. Imagine we want to find the meaning of a word from a dictionary. We first ask what is the first alphabet in that word, and then we open the section which collects all the words starting with that alphabet, and then we repeat the process until we find the word. The index in the data frame has a similar function. Each index is like an alphabet in a word. We can group the entries by using multiple indices for layers and layers of classifications. But how do we set up an arbitrary column as the index? Let's recall that when we build a data frame, as we described in chapter 2, we can define the index name during declaration. However, there are cases where we want to switch from an index to another index during data processing. Then what should we do? The answer lies at the method setIndex. The data frame class contains the method to help you to switch one of the columns to be the index column. In the setIndex method, we pass the column header as argument, which can be a string for a single column or a list of strings for multiple columns. Let's look at one example. We consider the same data frame about some United States and Canada cities. The original data frame used the index city 1, city 2, and so on. If we set the index using country, now we see that the index name will be the value taken from the country index. Also, we can see that the entry of San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Texas share the same index country, USA. If we use the log method and call the row by the index name USA, we will have 3 rows returned. If you recall chapter 6 and 7, this is something similar to the query we discussed in last chapter. Then, how about making a data frame with multiple indices? It is possible to do so in Pandas. The approach is similar to the classification of species in biology. We can use multiple indices for any rows so that we can collect information about a particular group of data. The hierarchy of classification depends on the sequence of column headers when you use the setIndex method. For example, If we use the same data frame and set country and state as the indices, Pandas will first group all the entries with the same values in the column country together. Then it further classifies the entries according to the values in the column state. To distinguish whether the column is an index or a real column, we can read from the position of the column header in the output of a data frame. In general, after we set an index of a data frame, it is a good practice to do a sort index method. This will help to maintain the performance of the data finding of Pandas. In case when the data frame is very large, for a multiple index data frame, we can call by using one or more indices by packing the indices into a tuple. In the example shown here, if we look for the cities in the United States, in the state TX, then Pandas returns us the entry for Texas. Now, let's move on to the second topic today, which is merging data frame. In daily use of Pandas, we will very often combine data from data frame to form a composite data frame for our analysis. Let's take a look at this example. We have two data frames from a company. The left one contains the information for all its customers, including the ID, name, date of birth, and contact. The right one contains all the transactions in a year, listing all the customer IDs and when and what the customer has bought. If we want to know the shopping habits for customers at different ages, we will need to combine the data frame in the way that the date of birth of the customer on the left data frame match with the customer transaction record on the right data frame by using the customer ID as the common column in both data frames. Pandas provides the method for us to do the merging process. The method merge takes in general the following arguments. The first two are the data frame on the left and right hand side we want to merge. The argument how corresponds to the format where Pandas should use to merge the two data frames. Finally, the argument left on and right on are optional arguments which let you pick specific columns where Pandas should match during the merging process. Before we look at one example, we need to discuss further the merging format. In Pandas, there are four ways to merge two data frames together, defined as inner, outer, left, and right. The inner mode means that Pandas will only keep the entry which exists in both data frames and discard all others. The inner mode is the most restrictive one. The outer mode means that Pandas will keep all the entries in both data frames and does not discard any entries. The left mode and right modes correspond to the format that Pandas will keep all entries from the left or the right data frame and check if there are common entries from the other data frame. Now let's look at one example. On the left-hand side, we have the same data frame about the city. On the right-hand side, we have a data frame which contains the population of each city. So when we merge the data frame, naturally it means that we try to paste the population from the right data frame to the left data frame by using city as the common key. The standard merging process is trivial. We use the pandas.merge method to pass the two data frames accordingly. Then Pandas will automatically try to find columns which are common in both data frames and create a new data frame for that. Notice now we can see that indeed the new data frame contains both the country state as well as the corresponding population. One question I would like you to think about is that if we do not provide the population of all cities, but only some of those, what will happen during the merging process? It will be a good exercise to try on your own. Now let's do the practice. When we have the following two data frames, the left one is still the same one we have seen many times in this chapter. The right one is a new data frame which contains the weather of each of the state. There are 5 rows in the left data frame and 4 rows in the right data frame. What will happen when they merge? Please try to practice and experiment it on your own. Also feel free to pause the video if you need more time. Now let's take a look at the result. The merging method is very easy to use. We write pandas.merge and fill in the two data frames. Then Pandas automatically choose the common columns to do the matching. In the final data frame, we see that as long as the left data frame contains the state which is recorded in the right data frame, Pandas will assign the value from the column weather to the output data frame. I hope you may appreciate the power of this method. Certainly, there are many possibilities in this method. For example, if we choose the inner mode or the outer mode, will there be any differences in the output data frame? For practice purpose, I encourage all of you to try it on your own to span the possibilities. So that's the end of our 8th tutorial video. And once again, thank you for watching this video. I hope to see you again in the next tutorial. We will learn how to use Pandas to group data and find its aggregated quantities. Again, practice makes perfect. I will encourage you to also read my open source ebook to do some of the related exercises to strengthen your skills. I hope you have enjoyed the tutorial today. See you!